set on one day. And it's about a woman who is on her final day of maternity leave, and she has two small boys, and she has promised them that they'll have one last lovely day together before she goes back to work. But sort of almost inevitably, things begin to go off the rails from the beginning. And so, yeah, it was kind of a way of thinking about various themes like motherhood, but also work and identity, and just really like existence on some level through this kind of prism of a day, which is obviously like a universal kind of unit of time that we all understand. It's quite a sort of radical change, really, for an adult to have a child, because it almost resets your clock or rhythms to, a kind of brand new being whose needs are almost minute to minute, and they're kind of complete, like in the very early days of babyhood, a child needs to be fed, almost around the clock, and they need to sleep a lot as well. But there's no control, for the adult over those things. So you go from having this kind of very independent existence, most people, to suddenly being at the behest of this tiny creature. In this book, it was kind of the idea of like coming out of the workforce and having a very specific kind of relationship to time, which is like governed by kind of most people's, like capitalism's time, almost, of like you get up, you commute to work, you do your day, you come home.
Mm-hmm.
Just suddenly none of that being there, and it's kind of like this almost blank canvas for how do we get through the day. There's like a few different levels in parenting. There's like the level of how do I safely shepherd this child from waking to sleep. But then there's also this kind of more existential level that's layered, that's like, developmentally, am I providing for them? Emotionally, am I providing for them? Kind of, and then that's without all the kind of extra sort of privileged stuff of enriching activities. And, it's kind of, you can kind of load it with almost everything if you feel so inclined or so neurotic. The book actually started out, I was writing kind of, I'd had my kids, and I wrote my first novel before my kids were born, and then had them quite close together. And then I was kind of only really able to write short fiction. And this actually started in my head as a short story. There's a scene where the double buggy gets stuck in the doorway of a shop. It was kind of while I was writing that I could feel like, oh, this is, it's kind of one of the more intense maybe moments of the book. It's like kind of a bit of an emotional climax of, a few different things. And I kind of just had the sense of like, oh, this is, if I just step back a little bit, but I can see there's like a context for this that's like, she's in a stressful situation, but there's a bit more going on. And that just, then I suddenly realized, oh, it's a day. And for me, like, a day is kind of especially in the early days, kind of the like definitive parenting unit. It's like you wake up and you're ready to go. You know, you wake up probably not at a time that you would have chosen, and then you're off, and there is no stopping it until bedtime. It sort of felt like it married quite well with the subject matter, I guess. Also, the epigraph at the beginning of the book is Mrs. Dalloway. It's from Mrs. Dalloway, and it's she always felt that it was very, very dangerous to live even one day. I think I've slightly butchered it, but and there was something to me very like funny about that, as well as very true, which is this kind of like, it is just a day. It's like also an incredibly prosaic thing to do. It's what we all, it's how we all live. I think she has set an impossible challenge, and has that sort of a crucial misunderstanding that she has. It's almost like, I was just saying earlier about the kind of erasing the mistakes of the past. It's like she's trying to do that, of like, oh, well, forget about all of those days when I wasn't, really trying, and I wasn't really paying attention properly, and I was on my phone too much, and I was preoccupied by housework. And, it's like, oh, but if I can just for this one day get it all correct, that's the one that will count.
Yeah.
Which is, I think quite a human mistake to make, but also she probably should have been better. I don't know if you have this, but I will often get my phone out to check the time, and then I will actually end up checking my WhatsApp or something, my emails, and then I'll put it away, and then I have no idea what the time is, the kind of outcome is. I've wasted a lot of time, and I still don't know the actual fact that I had gone to seek out in the first place. That's without looking at, something like a time suck like social media, which can serve up, if you so desire, like, trad wife content, or,
Yes.
parenting content, or, then you can get sucked into that and be like, oh, look at this, family where they have very tasteful toys, and the mother knows exactly the kind of activities and has all of the materials to kind of entertain her child in a wholesome way, while mine is, over there. I'm kind of looking at this while mine is, not, well, I'm not entertaining my child. Again, I'm not in that phase at the moment, and I tried very hard not to kind of get sucked into that. But even in the hours when my kids were in bed, that's the kind of thing I would be doing, would be looking at, okay, I'm going to be better prepared. I'm going to know what to do. And it kind of, I mean, yeah, it's this horrible illusion, really, isn't it? Of like, we can give you information, we can give you help, but actually all it does is kind of drag you further and further in and away from real time. A kind of great lesson for me, and I really don't speak as a parenting expert, as very much a parenting amateur who kind of, just blunders my way through it. And my kids are a bit older now, they're 8 and 10, so I'm in a different phase, and a different experience of time. I think in the beginning, there can be a resistance to that slowing down, and that kind of, I suppose, in a way, you're having to retreat from daily life in the way that you've become used to it, and that maybe lots of your peers are experiencing it. And for me, I think when I kind of understood that that was okay to kind of lean into that, and to walk at the toddler's pace to the shop, and that might take 2 hours to examine every dandelion. There is real beauty in that, and there is real, it kind of is actually a complete gift to see the world in those terms, to see a child literally kind of experiencing things for the first ever time. It's actually incredibly mind-blowing when you kind of allow yourself to get beyond the, but I need to get dinner on, or but the nap's coming, or whatever kind of I guess more adult imposed schemes you're working to. And then I think as as time passes, and you realize how fleeting sort of every phase of parenthood is. It doesn't feel that way in the beginning, definitely. But the great cliche, the days are long and the years are short. And you suddenly think, oh, that time that I had, all that time that I had is now gone. And, did I make the most of it? Did I kind of cherish it as I should have done?